faded that time. Now we got 2 Hays. We're changing it up.
How are you, my friend?
I'm grateful to be here. How are you doing?
Me too. It's been a tough week. But
Yeah.
as always, I look forward to our conversations about wellness. So it reminds me what's working so we can look for the good and we can support each other on this journey.
Yeah. And I think about what you say all the time, holding the grief and the gratitude at the same time.
Right? It's been a week for that. I have way too many friends that have been diagnosed with COVID, and I have a couple of dear ones that are in the hospital.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot.
I have way too many people that I know affected by cancer.
Yeah.
Linda, she's the reason that one of the main reasons I have confidence to be an entrepreneur. She brought me into Neora, my network marketing company that I was part of. I was on her team, and she is very sick. So, yes,
I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
it's okay.
My aunt just had a lumpectomy last week, and she had just finished her chemo and is going towards her radiation next. And yeah, I mean, there are so many people that are dealing with some really big stuff right now,
Yeah.
in addition to isolation and all
And
kinds of things. So,
eviction and everything.
woo,
Yeah. Sorry for the no trigger warning. Can we
right?
trigger warning after the trigger? Like, I know it's common conversation now, but yeah.
Right. But absolutely, like big stuff. Almost everybody I know is holding big stuff right now. Like it is not, it's not an easy time. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can look at towards gratitude and towards connection for sure. I'm grateful that I can look around and the support that I have in my life is amazing. But yeah, some days it's looking for the good is all I can do. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
hear what you're
we
saying.
do our intro and get started today.
Yeah, let's get started. Hi,
Let's do.
ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shalo Glow LLC. I am your advocate and champion for natural self care and practical business systems.
Hey y'all, I'm Christine Gotro, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
And together we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
And every week we get together for intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
Yes.
Looking for some wisdom.
Looking for a lot. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and give us a definition because there's so much to talk
What are we
about
talking about today?
with financial wisdom. Okay, financial wellness. So, capturing a complete definition is tricky, right? Because it means different things to different people. At its most basic level, financial wellness is a holistic approach to counter financial illness. This holistic approach includes a combination of factors such as satisfaction with current finances, increasing positive financial behaviors like saving, reducing debt, and budgeting, financial knowledge that helps to change behavior, and reduce financial stress. The last point that I'll make is creation of a financial plan to reach desired financial goals.
Right? That's a big one. It's one of our longest definitions. And I know we've been messing around with it and tweaking it. I would love if our listeners, if they see this live or they're listening audio afterwards, I would love for them to reach out to us and tell us, what does financial wisdom mean to you? Or what do they want to know more about? Because it's such a broad category. Like so many things. Like I think about the very basic beginning steps, Shannon, of being able to talk about finances. Like to
Absolutely.
me, that's an incremental step of financial wellness is being able to have a discussion about finances without that wash of shame or guilt coming over.
Yeah, and I know you talk about, in the way you put it, when you were a baby social worker and talking to the different couples and how they're more comfortable talking about their sex lives than they are their finances.
Right.
And for me, that points to the difficulty that everybody is having with it and the lack of understanding. And that's where the guilt and the shame and everything comes from.
Right. Well, I think some of it becomes from religious teachings. I think some of it comes from society. I think some of it comes from our family of origin and was money talked about or not.
Yeah.
But, money's a tool. It's a tool, and it's the system we live in. And I have some friends that choose not to partake. I got friends of all walks of lives, and some of them are talking about a barter only system. Okay, well, that takes us back to when, because right now the system that we live in is a capitalist system, and yes, does that need to be changed? It depends on who you talk to, because there's a lot wrong with it. There's a lot wrong, but it's the system we currently function in. So money's a tool in that system.
Absolutely. And I think about barter systems today. Today I actually personally had a great barter situation that helped me out with my financial wellness. But the thing is, just like money is the one thing that we use consistently, it would have to be one thing. So in my mind right now, would it not still be the same people that have the most amount of whatever item we're bartering to be able to barter with? But that's also something I think about with Women Connected in Wisdom. It's not always monetary that we trade back and forth, but we still get what we need.
Right. Oh, and don't get me wrong, y'all. I love a good barter, but it's also time. Often it's time.
Right.
Or your knowledge or and so it is one of those things. Could it sustain itself on its own?
Exactly.
It kind of depends on where you live, and what you've already got established as far as housing and basic needs met. I'm always fascinated by it because I don't know if you know this about me, Shannon, but for years my runaway fantasy was off the grid, some little cabin, think Thoreau, by the pond. It
sounds beautiful.
It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Right. When you think about it, because I was raised on a small farm, like it's a lot of hard work, right? Especially depending on what amenities you have. Do you have heat and air? Like, I'm a little spoiled to my central heat and air. I didn't grow up with that. I love being able to go flick it down and not have to go get wood or not have to, be in front of a big old water cooler or fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's, you and I, as we were prepping for this conversation today, there's so much. I mean, here we are at the end of August, 2021. We are, 18 months into this pandemic?
Yes.
And what does, personally, before we get into the larger picture, what does financial wellness mean to you in this moment?
To me, financial wellness is having a healthy plan and sticking to it. Financial freedom is different, but right now, financial wellness is below that. It's not freedom yet, but where are you at? What do you need to do next? And then staying on that plan.
I love that. You? Well, for me, I think I've mentioned on the show before that I'm neurodivergent. So, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was in college. So I was probably 19 when I got that diagnosis, maybe 18. And I always struggled to pay bills on time, like really until automated banking came out. It was a struggle for me. And it's a really weird struggle because sometimes I have more trouble when I have money than when I didn't have money because I wasn't paying as much attention. So for me, financial wellness is paying things on time, making sure everything is set up, automated, making sure that my systems are in place to meet my obligations healthy and to not have shame around it, because there was a lot of shame attached because I felt like I was a failure. I came from a mom who, I can't tell you how many times I've heard she had never bounced a check in her life. Well, that was not true for me in college.
Right.
And it was part of understanding and the system of figuring out how things worked. And of course, nowadays, my kids, I don't know that they'll even ever have a checkbook,
True.
But,
They might not. Yeah.
so I think for me, financial wellness is paying attention to my numbers,
Yeah.
knowing my numbers,
Yeah.
knowing where I am and what I'm going towards with my goals, but also being consistent because it's still, I have to make sure my systems are running. I have the systems in place, but sometimes tech happens. So, and things change. And so I think that's for me is the wellness is being able to look at that and adult.
I love it. And your specific breakdown of it is exactly what I'm talking about. Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I realized when I was salaried that even if I have the money in my account,
Mhm.
I like it being in my account. I don't want to give it to you. So I would, like you said, I would still be late on stuff. And it's like, what is going on there?
I like that knowing though that you didn't want to give it to somebody. Right?
Yeah.
And so like that, I mean, that's part of wellness, right? I have a thing that I do often when I'm paying bills is I will light a candle and give gratitude as I send off the money. I'm so grateful that I have central air. Does it cost me more? Yes. So instead of like being grumpy about the electric bill, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. That as a perimenopausal woman, when I go need to turn that air conditioner down, it responds.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I've been working on that too. My relationship with money as a tool and being appreciative to have it and use it for what I need it for. And then being appreciative of what I'm able to do to get it, the skills that I have, the health that I have to be able to work for it and continue to learn new things to continue to make more of it and put it in the right places. So
I love
absolutely.
that. I had a teacher one time. This image is coming to me. And for those that are not watching, that are listening, I'm holding both hands up. And I had a teacher one time tell me that is often the best way to handle finances. So finances come in and then they go out, but you are open to receiving versus being like, oh, I got it and let's hold on to it, but being open to receiving and it flows through us.
Yeah.
And we get to keep a little in the well, in the safety well or the savings well or whatever we want to call it, but that we are open to receiving and we're open to giving.
I love it.
I do too. Like I like to give.
Yeah.
I like to give.
Absolutely.
But I got to make money to give it. So
hello. And I mean, and honestly, that's one of my big motivations. Of course, generational wealth and things like that. We're going to get into that for the show, but especially I would love to do something like paying tuition for somebody. We'll talk about student loans or and Home Improvement used to be one of my favorite shows when I was growing up. And they'd be like, move that bus. And they would move. Is that the right show? I think it is, right? And they would move the bus. They would move it. And sometimes they would also have groceries and stuff in there for a year, and I always thought about doing things like that.
I think that's the show my sister was on.
Really?
It was the one where I think so. I think that's the one she did because she, for years, she had a company called Newman Development that she built really cool homes out of recycled shipping containers. Okay. And so I think there's an episode, I think that's the one, I'll try to find it and put it in our show notes. But there was an episode where the firefighter in Bastrop, Texas lost her home. She was out firefighting for somebody else and lost their home. And they rebuilt her home and Katie rebuilt her artist studio. She did the artist studio piece of it. So I'll try to find that and put that in our show notes.
I love that your sister has that experience.
Right. Oh, she's a genius, Shannon. Like she and shout outs because her greatest achievements turned 2 on Monday. So my nibblings, my nephews, Ezon and Knox, give them a shout out. Turned 2 on Monday.
Is it Monday or Sunday? Because it's in my planner.
It was Monday. Okay. Their birthday party was on Sunday, but their birthday was on Monday.
I was like, what does it say? When you said it, I said, oh, it says nibblings. I didn't write it clearly.
Which is the gender neutral term for siblings. Yeah. And so, she didn't find out what she was having before they came into this world. Mm-hmm. So they have been my nibblings since I've known about them. So They are ridiculously cute and up to 300 words. So, and have a sense of humor because we will be FaceTiming every morning and we'll go to get off and Katie will say, I love you, Tia. And they'll look at me and go, I love Papa and Ma. Which are my parents. Okay, get off and go follow this. That's 2 years old. You're giving me shade.
But I like the shipping containers. We've been watching this show about living mortgage free, and people have been building houses for $5,000 out of shipping containers, and you'd be surprised what you can make, So that's really cool.
Yeah, she's a designer. She's no longer running the company full time because she had these twins and was like, it was an 80-hour-a-week job, if that. And so, but she will do consulting and designs and plans. So I'll put a link for folks because she's incredible. She's designed some beautiful buildings. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and they're sustainable. When we talk about financial wellness, it's sustainable and creative, and there's all kinds of things you can do. What do you want to talk about? Like you and I were going back and forth about a whole bunch of stuff before the show today in regards to financial wellness, because there's so much current in the world.
Yes. So you guys know, if you're listening or if you're watching, it's going to be you, I, Christine today. Okay. So we have you for the whole time. And I want us to dive into what we talked about student loans, about these evictions that are happening, that are coming up, and how we can share some of the resources that we've looked up and gotten access to. So if people need help or they need help figuring out where to start, we can point towards those things.
I love that, because that's what Women Connecting Wisdom is all about.
Absolutely.
Helping each other, lifting each other up, resources. Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. And I remember, so let's backtrack real quick, right? So
right.
I'm gonna just share the story because this is why we're here, right? I went to college. I knew that I would not be able to afford to go to college if it was not for financial aid, right? So not growing up in a family that made a lot of money benefited me in this situation because I was able to get Pell Grant. They told us freshman year, hey, if your grades are good, you can get financial aid. I remembered that, so I got hope, and because of my SAT scores, I had another scholarship. So thankfully, I was able to go to college with my tuition covered. Then I found out about a position at Kennesaw State University. Shout out to the Owls, the resident assistant program, and I did that for 2 years. So my room and board was also covered. So thankfully, as we go through this conversation, I'm one of the people who have benefited from being able to take opportunities and my student loans be very minimal. But going through that process is interesting, and a lot of times we haven't always had the best, or people don't always have the best access to information or help or the opportunities that I had. So,
well, I want to jump in real quick before you talk about a little bit about it, because folks that aren't from Georgia, and we've got folks from all over the world that listen to us, and what the Hope Scholarship is. And, I'm not from Georgia originally. So when I got here, I was like, y'all, this is the best kept secret in Georgia. So the Hope Scholarship Program requires students to meet academic eligibility requirements in addition to basic requirements. Like you have to live here. I think now the requirement's 6 years or something like that. But what happens is if you are eligible, it will, and you have a certain grade level, it will pay for your tuition and books in college in Georgia at state schools. And if you go to a private school, it will give you the amount of money that would have gone to the public university. Right. So it is a way for people to get an incredible college education without a huge amount of debt. Yes. And I have to tell you, like, when we found out about it, we moved here. Sammy was going into kindergarten. Alex was going into 4th grade. We found out about the Hope Scholarship, and everybody back in Texas was like, when you moving home? When you moving home? We're like, well, not until our kids graduate college at this point. Because holy cow, like we came in with student loan debt and, a lot for years. And so the fact that this is an option here in this state, huge incentive.
Absolutely. That makes sense because it cuts out a lot. So, right now, we've been looking at articles and we'll link to them in the show notes about the pushback of repaying the loans, right? So, that's a huge thing when you talk about debt and how much money you're trying to pay back. To have 0% interest is a great opportunity. But the question is, what's going to happen next? Should I spend this money? Should I spend the $1,500 on this one loan that I have for college, or should I pay my rent? You know, um, so Christine, as far as student loans and everything, how do you feel like it's changed, or the story has changed for you over time as you moved from Texas to Georgia?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we were part of that generation that they like gave us loans, gave us loans, gave us loans. And so we got in over our heads. And, if Joe's listening, he will, like, we've had a lot of discussions about this. We would not be where we are today without those student loans. We would not have the jobs we have. We would not have been able to purchase our home. Would we do it again? I don't know. Like, I mean, we were young and dumb, and we had kids, not that I recommend this at all, but we had a baby. Like, I walked across the stage and a week later gave birth to our first child. So it was just, and I'm so grateful for them because we didn't come from homes that could pay for our college straight out. And so it gave us access to an education and a lifestyle that we would not have had access to. And there's a lot of burden of debt and shame and guilt about, did we handle it right? Did we not handle it right? All that. And there's some predatory things out there. So you've got to, this is so timely because kids are going back to school. They're going to college. My youngest goes off to college next week, and she just signed some of those papers. She didn't have to take a bunch, but it was like we had a big, long discussion about it. And how do you pay it down earlier? And what do you do? And looking at having the foresight to look ahead about what is the career you're going towards, and is this worth it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a huge question, because let's say for me and my psychology degree, you would look at certain things and say, okay, industrial organizational is at the top. Then I might do this. Then I might do that. But it's not just about what's available. Me and my work experience, we talked about occupational wellness last week. I've definitely had some difficult situations and different jobs and conversations, and actually was demoted from a position that I was in, and not officially, but by what I was scheduled, so different things like that. You can think, oh, well, I'm going into this field, I should be making this much money, but there's way more than that goes into it. And that's what we've seen with the increase of student debt, the increase of student loans being taken out, and then the question of what is the rate that you're going to get paid, and of those salaries going up over time in the community. What does that look like realistically, and how does it affect people individually? We talk about self-care, and then the community as a whole, the family and everybody else that it touches.
Right. And read the fine print, y'all.
Yes.
It's worth it to read it. And if you don't understand it, talk with somebody that does.
Yeah.
And because not knowing doesn't get you out of it. So, I know there's a lot of discussion on the national front right now, especially for people of my generation and right behind me, where there was a lot of predatory lending and people are struggling under a lot of debt. And, they're talking about, do we cancel that debt? What do we do? And I know it adversely affects people of color.
Yeah.
That because they, national average, they still make significantly less than their counterparts that are white, and especially Black women. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't want to misquote this, but I want to say it's like 38% less than something like that. I mean, it's significant.
That's a big chunk.
Hopefully that number has gone up recently, but yeah, it is a big chunk. And it is like, how, that makes a difference. It makes a difference. Now, you were talking about a recent article you read about them postponing payments right now, right? That's coming
Yes.
from a federal level?
Yes. So they were talking about post the deadline for the student loan repayment being pushed back from coming up soon to January in 2022. So I don't know how official that is. I've definitely seen different information, different places. So if you have student
It's a
loan, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a worth a reach out to your lender.
Exactly.
I
That's what
mean,
I was
on
going to
any
say.
of the programs that I've been seeing lately that have been helping for pandemic relief,
Yeah.
a lot of times it's not automatic. There's a step that you have to do, but it's worth that step. That's a step towards your wellness. It's a step towards understanding what's going on. And
Absolutely.
so I think that it's
It,
important, and you may need a buddy to do it. I
yeah.
know some of these things can get really overwhelming and really big. Like a lot of times I work with clients that they just need some partnership power. They need somebody to be on the phone with them or be in the room with them when they're making that call, especially if it's a call that they're not quite sure about, or they're scared about, or it's emotional. They're like, oh, and so having partnership power, I think, is a really good thing.
Yeah, I definitely needed it even to file my taxes this past year, and being with my friend in the room, helping me walk through it. I said, okay, that felt better. This year, we're gonna do it better so that we don't have to do this again. And when you were talking about reading the fine print, I know it made me think about when I was looking up these articles and we were looking at the student loan debt and the dates and where it is historic or where it's been historically and where it is now. It made me think about debt consolidation, and that's a big thing right now, right? Companies are like, oh, just roll into one. But when we talk about the fine print, please make sure that we understand the interest rates, because the 0% interest rate on the student loans is saying that you are paying back whatever you owe already. Now, for me personally, because it's been years since I graduated college, some of that total has interest in it, but they're saying they're not adding any more on. But if you consolidate everything and you have 5, 6, 13 different loans, different places, if your interest rate is 36%, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Right?
So, yes, please make sure that we're reading the fine print and that, when possible, we're talking to an expert, somebody who's going to be able to walk you through the latest laws and legislation so that we have the correct information.
Right. One of the resources I'm going to put in our show notes, Shannon, is the Consumer Credit Counseling Service. It's a free service that will help folks with their credit score. It helps them with consolidation. It helps them with budgeting, debt management plans. Like it is, and they also will help you with a credit coach or a debt coach.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that link. It's credit.org /CCCS. And I'm going to put that in the show notes for folks. That is a good place to start for a free resource that if you need support and help, because you and I were talking about before the show, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Like if you didn't grow up learning this stuff, and to be fair, we're all going through a situation which we've never been through before, and people that never thought they would have an eviction notice or never thought that
Right.
like it's
Right.
happening.
Yeah.
And so to do away with blame, shame, or guilt, and like, what do you need to get through this? I wanted to pull up talking about evictions
Yeah.
because they just passed. Let me see, that this just came out this week about the CDC just released a new eviction moratorium. And so what that means is that's from a federal level that there is a moratorium, which means it cannot happen. Like there's a stop, it's like a big old stop sign about eviction. But there are things you have to do. Like it's not just, so we're going to put a link to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in our show notes today, because there is a CDC declaration that you must give your landlord, and you've got to fill that out. And so it's especially around areas that the pandemic is spreading, which it's everywhere right now. So you should be able to qualify. And there's also a link to get help paying your rent and utility bills that
Yes.
is on that.
Yeah.
So we'll put that in the show notes because
And yeah, because it's so important. And one thing that I would like to say too is that if you're struggling financially, right, you feel like you're failing, all this stuff is happening. One, I would say that's not true because it's a global pandemic. And I'm two, I would say that that's also natural to feel that way. I'm so glad that I listened to the audiobook Secrets of Six Figure Women by Barbara Stanley, and she reminded me that people connect how much they make to their self-worth. And so when you start making less, you don't feel as good about yourself. When I stepped down and my mom was sick with cancer and I went from almost $60,000 to 40, felt, oh, it kind of shifted a little bit, especially when rent was $1,100. And then when Corona shut the restaurant down, I remember the day, and one of my managers that I used to manage with was like, yeah, we're going to have less tables in here. So what I heard is less servers. You guys are running the restaurant with less people and you're not giving us 2 weeks like you would want us to give you 2 weeks, even though it's not just here, it's global. I understand. I'm thinking about my rent. I'm thinking about my stuff. So I went from 60 to 40 to 15 is what the paper said, but I need Department of Labor. If you're listening to this, you have a voicemail from Shannon Mitchell. Okay, I'm missing some money. Okay, um, and so I have to remember that my financial position is not the same as my worth. And
right.
so if you're struggling financially, again, the blame, the shame, the guilt is natural, but no, we just need to come up
Yeah.
with a plan and get some partnership power, and we're gonna get through it.
Right. Well, and also, when you have those feelings, because Shannon, I come from the somatic background and interplay. It's okay to acknowledge them and take a deep breath and shake them out. Just let them out. Or one of my favorite. I don't know if I've ever told you this before.
Right.
So one of my favorite secrets is I will put on a song by Karen Drucker. It's "Money is Coming to Me Easily and Effortlessly," and I will dance around. And so it does a couple of things somatic wise. Like it reminds me to have fun with it and play because it's a playful song and you can tell they're having fun while they sing it.
Yeah.
And it gets me out of my chair and out of my head. And so it gets me moving. And so if there's feelings that need to be moved out, it does it through that song. And then at the very end, they laugh. Like you can tell that they were having such a good time making that song. There's a little cash register sound effect and then they bust out laughing and it just brings me joy every time because as a recovering serious person like it's like, oh, we can have fun with this, we can have fun with making money, we can have fun with imagining, we can have fun with dreaming, and steps need to be taken along the same way. Like I mean, every time when we talk about manifesting, we talk about that. Yes, dream big and get what you need to take the steps to make it happen.
Absolutely. So I need to listen to that song. I like right now because I've been thinking about it. Right, I've been trying to figure out what song I'm gonna play when I completely get out of debt because I'm on this journey with you guys too. And right now I like "Money" by Cardi B, and I like "Classical Intro" by Gucci because he says he's on a money making marathon, and that's definitely what I'm on right now. But yeah, so with the student loans right now, of course, they're on pause for everybody. It's 0% interest. So if you're in a position to be able to pay it off, it's definitely a good opportunity to take that, right? But also with with a lot of people's income being lowered, again, this is something that you would have to check into with your lender. But there, should be options or maybe options where now that you make less, you can pay less. And that was something where I didn't know before. So when I stepped down, I'm still making payments to my student loans like I was making salary when I could have, been putting that money towards groceries or other things that had changed priority based on where I was. But thankfully, again, this is last year for me. A lot of people are moving now. I moved last year. I moved by May 1st. I said, I've got to be gone. Took the picture off the wall. I said, They don't want me here. I know it's probably illegal, right? It's not personal, but once it lifts, where is this $18,000 going to come from? I'm not going to have it then. I might as well move now. And so I've been gone. I've moved already, but it's definitely a readjustment. And that's why for me, I said the financial wellness is, what is the plan? It's not my worth is less now that I'm not making $60,000 a year and that I'm not well. I can be just as well with the same ratios and the same percentages with less. But what does that look like? And that's what I've been working on, the financial peace planner and my budget. And that's really given me the freedom to say yes to certain things and no to other things, to make sure that I'm taking the steps that I need to take to be able to one day help somebody else, help another young woman pay for her tuition, or another family pay for groceries, because I know what those things feel like. But first, this is where we are, and that's okay. And that's how I'm being wise, taking my incremental steps every day.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I was when you were talking about financial freedom earlier, I had Googled and found an article about 12 steps to achieve financial freedom.
Okay.
You want to hear them?
Yeah, what does it say?
Okay, this is from USA News. And I wanted to also say the definition, because I know sometimes you have a different definition. So we'll put their definition and then see yours.
Okay.
It says, for some, financial freedom means being able to pay the bills with the money left over each month, or having a fully funded emergency account. Others may want to retire early and travel extensively. So basically what it's saying is financial freedom is different for every person, right? But it's about a comprehensive approach to money management. So the first thing, which I know you have talked about several times, and almost every expert says, is commit to living within your means. So I know that one's sometimes easier said than done, right? Yeah. Especially with the current price of rent. My oldest, who's 23, we were having a pretty heartfelt discussion recently, and she's like, Mom, I feel bad because, I can't afford my own apartment. And I'm like, well, nobody in America that is making minimum wage. I mean, the studies show it. If you are making minimum wage, you cannot afford a 1-bedroom apartment in America right now. So it's a systemic problem. It's not just, but it especially affects our young people before they have a trade or a degree or a way to make their living beyond a minimum wage job. So that can be tricky when rents are so high.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is one we love. So the second one is know your current financial situation. So we talk about know your numbers. Where are you? Yes. Where are you? Calculating your debt, calculating your expected income, and identifying holes in your financial picture. And I'm going to say, y'all, get help with this. If you're not good at it or you don't know how to do it, reach out. There's experts that will help you with this for free. Yeah. So get help with that. Or you got a friend that's really smart and sharp about this. And if you've got a numbers friend, often they like to share that info. Yeah. So find somebody to support you on this journey. Don't suffer in silence.
No.
Open the right accounts. Now, this is like one of these things about what you don't know what you don't know. But they say there's no one single account that is right for all your money. So cash for retirement should be placed in a tax-favored 401k or IRA account, while college savings are usually best kept in a 529 plan. Isn't that interesting? And those with high deductible health insurance plans can open health savings accounts to pay for medical expenses. Yeah. That is something Joe and I have done the last several years with his company. It's a benefit that his company offers, and it is a great thing. Because we deduct our medical expenses for the year, we don't pay as much taxes on those because they're all for medical and they come out of this account.
Right.
And yeah. So, and then it also says, meanwhile, you'll want an emergency fund that's separate from your other savings to avoid dipping into it unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Set up a deposit schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have your account set up, create a system for ensuring that they are fully funded. And I know you are a genius at this, my friend. Like you have been working on this
Still
and you are
working.
working towards it. But you want to divert a portion of your income to checking, regular savings, and your emergency fund.
Mhm.
You want to monitor your credit. This is one of these that are hard if you're an avoider. Hello,
And I
I'm
mean,
Christine, and I used to be an avoider.
hello, me too. I raised my hand again. Was this third, fourth time today? Like, but and honestly, Christine, right now, I'm not even worried about my credit. I know that Honda is calling me and that it's hitting my credit. I know this already. So when we talk about the pandemic and being so far behind, um, maybe if you do need another apartment, of course they're going to check your credit. Maybe if you do need to downsize your car and you're going to the dealership, they're going to check your credit. I'm not saying don't be mindful, but me, where I am, I know that my credit is not as good as I want it to be, but
Yeah,
that's not my first step. My first step is baby step number one with Dave Ramsey, saving the $1,000.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing about prioritizing, right?
Yeah.
And there are people also to help you with your credit score. I
Right.
get mad about this one, Shannon. I have to tell you. I don't know if it's the anti-systems person in me or if it's the like, oh, this whole capitalistic.
The credit.
Ugh. So what I try to do is do a mind shift. I'm just going to be real honest with people how I try to do it. Is I try to mind shift that it's a game because I like to play games. Like
Yeah.
I like to play board games. I like to show. I'm like, oh, it's just kind of a game. I try to trick myself so it's fun. But occasionally I get really resistant because it makes me mad. Because especially it already adversely affects people that are in the margins and people. It's poor people in America are punished. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. Like the less money you have, the more you pay in this country.
And this is why I love Robert Kiyosaki, Christine, because I had never heard of cash flow quadrants before, and it speaks to, without going all the way into it, how your cash flows to you, and that is why I kind of cringe sometimes when I hear these financial wellness definitions, and of course, again, like we said, it's hard to pinpoint it, but for me, time and financial freedom. What else do you have? Because if not, then I'm going to be 62 asking somebody for permission to go to my granddaughter's play or something. I don't want to have to ask anybody anything. I want
Right?
time and financial freedom to do everything. If somebody's sick, I don't want to have to be the person that puts everything down. I want to be able to afford a caring, competent, passionate person who loves taking care of people, and I can be there and enjoy my time with my loved one and not overextend myself and put my own immune system at risk. But we have to be set up to be able to do that. And I would love to see that for everybody.
Absolutely. So I know you've read several of Robert Kiyosaki's books.
Yeah.
Which one would you recommend that people start with?
I don't even know. I feel like I read them out of order. The first one is Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I will recommend starting with the one that he started with. But really, it depends on where you are. If you're about to invest, what the rich teach their children about investing might be where you start. If you have enough money and your bills are paid and you're not um, getting evicted and everything like everybody right now, and you're about to start a business, maybe what to do before you quit your job is something that you need to listen to. So you remember to think about all the systems. You need legal systems. You need um, the production team. It's not just you and your specific skills that's needed to make it successful. um, Maybe it's a book that helps you talk to your children about money. It depends on where they are.
Yeah, which that what to do before you quit your job is um it's an important one because so many people, you know, and you and I are both part of this gig system and this, but it is so attractive to people right now. But part of the reason it's attractive is because of the way our systems are set up and the way that we're out of balance with work and money in this country. So I was reading an article the other day and I should have pulled it up before this episode
Yeah.
about that it's not normal how many people are going into the gig economy right now. Because
Mm.
what it does is it undercuts security, like with
Security in what?
insurance, and with like, because we don't have universal health care in this country
Mm.
yet. Like, I mean, you and I know this because we do this work, right?
Right.
If we go down, our business doesn't happen.
Right.
Like, and so the wellness is even a bigger part of it because we have to stay in balance because it's vital,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I would say it depends, because for me, if somebody is starting a side gig that says that they're not making the money that they need to make in their main side gig. So if they're making more money, it might put them in a position to be able to afford insurance more readily than before. What I would say for side gigs is be mindful of which one it is, right? A lot of times, again, I was in a network marketing company, and people would think it was a pyramid scheme. The difference is a pyramid scheme is where people make money off of you joining, and there is not a product being sold. The majority of the income from this company is coming from people joining, not from the products being sold. So Neora was amazing. I absolutely love the products. I believe there's a list of reasons why I could have done better personally, skills that I needed. But I can tell you, ladies, that it was also because of the type of product. This was an anti-aging skincare line. I'm a beautiful young black female. These older white women who the products were marketed to, they might not think that I'm the best person to sell them. They're not going to be convinced by me. Of course, it's also my salesmanship, which is something I've been working on. But be mindful of how you align with the brand that you're going to make a side gig in. That makes it easier to be successful. How much time is it going to take? Do you have that time in your schedule? Is it going to take you paying a certain amount monthly? Can you afford to do that so you can really invest the time that it's going to take before you start getting your groove? Things like that are important to think about so that you can choose the right side gig for you. But yeah, I think side gigs are great. And when we talk about minimum wage and the living wage, it's really set up so that this is really how I feel, Christine. I feel like it's a sentence. It's a financial sentence. They tell you that go to college, and then there's the student loan debt, and then they tell you to get married and buy a house, and then it's a 35-year mortgage. No, that's a it's a sentence. And so it's debt on top of debt to have a certain type of lifestyle. But then we're stressed out. Heart attacks are increasing on Monday mornings and Tuesday mornings. And that's why I love our Women Connected in Wisdom, because we're really talking about how to be well in all the different dimensions. It's not just about having a really nice Jeep with great tires, and there's nothing wrong with that, and riding down the street in style. But if 78% of America is living paycheck to paycheck, maybe we get that car that's 5 years old instead of 1 year old, and have a lower car note or no car note at all, so that we can put that money into investment, and then it's growing faster than the rate of inflation, because that is
Right.
very important. We don't even have time to go into
I
it,
know,
but
because I was looking at it and I was like, oh my gosh, like we have been
yeah,
chatting.
yeah,
Um, Katie just put a note that says, I love this support for the idea that your income and financial situation is not a measure of your self worth.
no,
With all the mental health stress around the pandemic, it's easy to forget that this problem is global. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
you're worth it, Katie. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a piece of it, right? And it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. Like
mm-hmm.
it is a reality because we're putting food on our table and
Are we though?
hopefully
Some people,
hopefully,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. It's been so much. And
right?
so, like, for me, that this has been one of the, I feel like, the biggest acrobatic things I've ever done, because I think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and then cash flow quadrants together, and at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is survival. That's where a lot of people were before this. That's what we talk about when we talk about the Black community and policy violence and all this stuff that we could go into. It keeps people in a survival mentality. So you really, according to Maslow's hypothesis, okay? You are unable to reach self-actualization at the top of the pyramid, which is knowing your hobby, having love and belonging, knowing who you are. If you're worried about eviction, you're not going to that birthday party. You have to pack, okay? Like that's where you're at. And so, me balancing knowing that I'm in a survival state and needing to work on financial literacy and financial wellness, knowing that it doesn't mean that it doesn't change my worth, and then trying to think about who I am, that's been a real balance. And yeah, women connected in wisdom, and intentionally having the support group, and intentionally not isolating myself. When my mom passed away and then the restaurant shut down and then I had to move and then I started a business, has been so
Hey,
interesting.
tell us about that business because
Yes.
we have been chatting. Like, we always laugh and blame it on the guest, but I don't
No,
think
it's
it's the
us.
guest.
It's
Um,
us.
so tell us about that business you started and tell
Yeah.
us what's up with it.
Yes, ladies. So this is really what Shayla Glow is about. We take care of all this stuff. We have to take care of ourselves. We've been used to being sick and being tired, but no more. We are prioritizing ourselves. So I actually have some goodies here. I'm trying out some new scents. This is lavender vanilla.
Ooh,
So yes, this is not
yum.
what it's gonna look like. These are some gifts, but we have new scents coming: mango, lemongrass, lavender, vanilla. And for you ladies, I have the code WISE5 for 5% off so that you can treat yourself and enjoy some Shalo Glow products. If you know somebody who's been doing an outstanding job, I think about the nurses, I think about the teachers who have been risking their lives to continue to make sure that we're okay and that the next generation is taken care of. But we know that, she may need some help taking care of herself. If you know somebody who you're interested in giving the free gift of self care to, please nominate her at shayloglow@gmail.com with the subject title Shayro nomination, and tell me what she's done, why you think she's so special. And I would love to honor her with a gift of self care so that she can take better care of herself.
I love that.
Yes.
Thank you, Shayla Glow, for sponsoring Women Connected in Wisdom and
Okay.
for honoring like the Shayros out there because there's a lot of them.
So many.
There's a lot of them. Well, my friend, before we close for today, what's your wisdom in action
Ooh.
around financial wellness this week? What you doing?
So and I got this from Profit First, we talk about that every 10th and 25th. Those are my money days when I transfer my money from my income accounts to the different accounts. It's the 11th. I forgot to transfer it. I did other stuff, forgot to do that. So that's my wisdom in action, to finish my Profit First step, making sure that everything is allocated correctly in the different accounts.
Nice. My wisdom in action this week is I'm doing the tax homework that my money coach gave me.
Mm.
When I talk about not doing it by myself, y'all, I practice what I preach. So I reached out to the amazing money coach Lori, which we've had as a guest on our show before, and she is walking me through some tax stuff as we level up our business. So that is my wisdom in action. I'm going to do the homework. I'm going to listen to the experts and do what I need to do. So we encourage all our listeners, if you're listening to us, to hashtag wisdom in action and tag us on social media. We're on Facebook at Women Connected in Wisdom Podcast. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. Tell us what you're up to. We'd love to be in conversation with you and support each other because that's what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody does it by themselves.
Oh,
So
isn't that the truth?
yes. Okay, ladies. Thank you so much for listening in. We will see you next week, Wednesday at 5. And in the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. We'll see you next time.
See you soon.